Hi everyone, my name is Rick and welcome to Rick's 1/35 Scale Models. Today I'm going to be looking at a process for taking your model that you've done an amazing job on and taking it to the next level. Now, one of the things you'll always notice on a real vehicle, no matter how pristine it is, unless it's some showpiece car, is there's going to be a certain level of debris, oxidation, and crud that kind of builds up, especially in crevices and things like that. And anything that's got a flat paint color on it, there's going to be oxidation. Now, part of that's caused by the fact that the surface isn't completely smooth, so oxidation and different things will kind of get into the crevices and you'll see these areas. Now, a lot of people have criticized different people's model builds in that when they paint something, they do this amazing paint job and then they don't go and add this oxidation and just grime on it. And I'm not talking about completely destroying it and covering it up. I'm talking about just a little bit of highlights. And even if you've pressure washed the vehicle and cleaned it up real good, you're still going to see a lot of this. So I want to show how you do that effect. Now what I've done is I've taken a Y model generator I built. It's a resin kit, and painted it up, and then I did this detailing effect. The nice thing about this is you can build a model, get it all ready to go, and you can come back later on and do this, and within 15-20 minutes you're done. So I want to sit down and talk about that process. Now, before I did this, I did seal it with an acrylic flat clear. Now that's important because you want to seal all of the paints, because you're going to be using enamel thinners, and if you've painted with anything that's going to reactivate or wash away, you don't want to mess up your paint job. So I've done all that, but let's jump into this. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the model all positioned, and I'm going to take a pen wash, which I'm using the Panel Liner Accent Colors by Tamiya, and I'm going to lightly touch some of the places you're going to see that build up in, and such as the cracks, crevices, and different hinge points. And I'm going to go around and touch those spots to get that done. From there, I'm going to take an enamel paint. This one I'm using Humbro's enamel, and I'm using a light gray. Now that, to me, in the darker colored paint schemes, shows up a lot better. So I'm going to take the Humbro, and I'm going to take, and when you first oil or open the enamel paint, you'll see that oil on the top, and then there's the paste in the bottom. Well, I'm actually going to mix it a little bit, but I want to get a little bit of that paste, put it on my wood palette, and then I'm going to take a real small brush and I'm going to lightly touch places that I want to have this streak effect. And then from there, I'm going to take regular enamel thinner, and I'm going to take a brush, and I'm using a fairly light brush here. I'm going to put a little bit of paint or thinner on it, lightly take some of it off, and then I'm going to brush it downward. The effect here is you're pulling it down, and that's giving you your enamel effect going downward. Now the key here is you're going to get the brush wet and then lightly drag it down, and as you can see, you kind of thin it down and create that effect. Okay, after doing all the enamel paint work, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a little bit of the pastel chalk, and I'm going to kind of dab it here and there to create the dust effect. Now this for me is important because it kind of adds some realism also. The other thing about it is once you go to seal this in, a lot of these effects will be dulled down and kind of disappear. So understand that if it looks a little heavy, once you seal it, a lot of that's going to kind of blend in and it won't be so obvious. But it's one of those you can kind of do a little bit, and then if it's not enough, you can add more. So start on the lighter side and work your way up versus putting too much on and messing up your great paint job. Now, one of the things that I did do here is, after looking at it, I realized I needed some rust. There was always going to be a little bit of rust on hinges, different things. And the neat thing about rust is wherever the rust point is, that usually is up on the edges of where the paint comes at a 90-degree angle, or on flex points, or if there's damage. That's a lot of times where you'll see it. Now, as the rain hits that, the rust kind of runs down the side of the vehicle and you'll get that streak effect. And that's kind of what I'm looking at to create here. I'm putting it kind of where the hinges are and then some of the crease points and edges, and I'm just going to pull it down to create that stain look from the rust. One of the things that I like that effect for is I think it adds a lot of realism to it, because you're always going to see it on things in some place here and there. The one thing to remember though is, remember, wherever you have rust, that means there's iron. Don't do it on like aluminum or plastics, things like that, unless there's some metal there. And I've seen a lot of people take like an aluminum airplane and they add all this rust effect. And it's kind of like, it oxidizes, but it doesn't rust. Even though rust is technically oxidation, it's a different color. So make sure that when you're doing this, you're doing the right effects color-wise, or it looks fake. What I did see here in the end though is sometimes when you put your flat clear coat on, which is an acrylic, if you don't let it dry long enough or you don't put a complete coat on, when you come back and hit it again with an enamel thinner, you'll get a white effect. Now that can be kind of a neat look. I decided I didn't want to do that here, so when I got done, I then took and sealed it again. When you seal it again, just make sure you do a nice heavy coat and it gets wet. That penetrates all that, and then most of it goes away and you can clean that effect up. But that's kind of the effect. Now, this whole process took me start to finish about 30 minutes, and that's walking away, let things dry for a little bit. But it's a very quick process. It's something you can do in between building models when you want to do something to just, like I said, add that extra effect, but not spend a lot of time, hours and hours, doing some major workup. And you can do a little bit, come back a little later, and after looking at it, realize, I want to add a little more, and keep adjusting it till you get where you want to be. But that's the whole idea. It's a very simple process. Remember, you're using enamel paints, you're using the thicker paste, and you're kind of using an enamel thinner to kind of pull it down and create that streak effect, and that does add a lot of authenticity and realism to the model. And then from there you can go in and add your mud effects, your different splatterings and road grime. All that is all a different, but this is something that even if something's well maintained, you're going to see it. It's just a natural effect of the sun and oxidation and things like that. So that's my little tutorial on how to do this. As I always say, please like, subscribe. If you don't like it, let me know. Any comments, questions, always welcome. You can get me on email, you can get me through Facebook, and then obviously in the comments section. More videos coming soon. Please, everyone, take care, happy modeling, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.